The podium whore is an epidemic in law enforcement today, and I can't express. Now, let's not get this minced words out here. I am a camera whore, and I'll acknowledge off the bat my faults and flaws, but I'm not in a position to lead America, and I never will be. But a lot of people out there are, especially those who are in charge of our law enforcement. Now, when I was a younger kid and I watched Rob Reiner's A Few Good Men, I believe that Caffey, played by Tom Cruise, was the hero of the film. But the older you get, and you understand what's necessary to defend our way of life, you see, holy shit, and shove me in it. Colonel Nathan Jessup, played by Jack Nicholson, was the hero of that film. The irony of that movie is that one of the other movies that Rob Reiner filmed was The American President, and they're two great movies. And I'm not trying to get political here. I don't care what side of political aisle you're on. I think both sides are fucked, and I think they're both corrupt as hell. But you have Reiner, who admits in one film through dialogue that there are some men who are required to do some of the nastiest things in the world to defend our country. And of course, in that liberal film, it was vilified. We don't want men around who are strong to be able to do that. When you go to the last closing closing speech of the American president, it has one of my favorite descriptions of what America is. Michael Douglas, who plays the president, who's also a Democrat in that film, talks about America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad. And he talks about the concept of free speech is you could spend your lifetime advocating at the top of your lungs something you're so passionate about, but you have to accept that the person across from you that you're debating is advocating at the top of their lungs the exact opposition for it. It's a beautiful, beautiful concept. We live in a society now where people do not get punched in the mouth anymore. And I'm so damn torn for when and where it needs to be done. And I can get into the concept of we failed as our parents. I'm not a parent, but parents have failed disciplining their kids. Kids go off into the workspace. They fail at that. They fail at school. They fail on the streets. They become criminals. And now the problem in America is the American police officers expected to be the hired dumb thugs of the failed parenting system. Well, what do I mean by that? Being a cop is one of the worst jobs in the world because you're balancing on the head of a pin, appeasing everybody. You've got the angry mob on one side who sees John Doe criminal. And John Doe criminal never got the discipline from the courts, never got the discipline from the parents. So when they see that he's now, his life has expired because the police shot him 50 times, and you're like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, you are glad the police did what you wanted. The other side of that coin is that you have the empathizers, the sympathizers, the activists who are like, couldn't the cop shot him in the leg? We have police brutality. Oh my God, Black Lives Matter, you name it. And the cop then is vilified on that side. But then you have the command staff who, it doesn't matter how well the department policy was followed and law was followed. You have men and women with nice, shiny gold badges who are now looking to avoid civil liability and paying for it out of the nose with the village because they don't want to lose their job from the mayor firing the chief and all this kind of garbage. So now they're going to be looking for every policy ding that the cop did on the incident to string them up. Oh, turns out you wore a black undershirt underneath your clothing when clearly on day shift to be less intimidating to the public. It says in the department policy you have to wear a white T-shirt underneath your uniform. Well, there's your ding. Now we're going to go right down the line, fruit of the poisonous tree, all the way to your shooting to see what you did. The American cop, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand when they come to my content, I'm not vilifying them. What I'm doing is saying you need to do better. Your standards need to be much, much higher. But you're getting it all on all sides. You're getting it from the public who defends you, who expects more of you, who wants you to be the hired nightclub bouncer thug who bounces people's heads off the concrete as they're escorting them out the door. Yeah, that drunk deserved it. And then you've got the activists who want your head on a pike for doing your job exactly the way that the public expects, and they take no accountability in their own culture and community. And of course, it's going to be your fault. And then you've got your command staff. Your command staff, who they claim have your back until it's time to, and they're going to leave you out to dry. You have the hardest job in America. I don't care who says what. It's not, well, it's a traffic stop, and it's going to be the most unpredictable thing in the world. No. You are the literal epicenter of appeasing the court of public opinion, and your bosses aren't doing you any favor, and they're setting you up for failure in the biggest way. And I wish some of you out there who do have the gold badges would just shut the fuck up. Now, we can all start this by, this is the man who I think started it all. And I got a bias to agree.
The Gremlin Street Gang is responsible for hundreds of violent crimes, murders, armed robberies, witness intimidation, burglaries, drug trafficking, extortion, and brutal beatings. We've arrested 10 of these thugs and have warrants on 7 more. Every one of these animals is most definitely armed and dangerous. Darren Carter, Aaron Carter, Travis Cooper, Cody Guidry, Jaron Diggs, Kirkland Demichet, and Jonathan Landry. We have felony warrants for your arrest. You will be hunted, you will be tracked, and if you raise your weapon to a man like me, we'll return fire with superior fire. Darren Carter, you think men like these are afraid of an uneducated, 125-pound punk like you that's never won a fair fight in your life and holds your gun sideways? Young man, I'll meet you on solid ground anytime, anywhere, light or heavy. Makes no difference to me. You won't walk away.
Now, years ago when this first came out, the raging law enforcement hard-on I had was like, motherfucker, yeah, let's do it. And the older I get, I'm like, son of a bitch. How stupid am I? Now, here's the deal. I am not saying anything bad about currently Congressman Clay Higgins, because I met the man, and I'm going to tell you, the guy's fantastic. He actually said some incredibly nice words about me. He and I both gave speeches at the nation's capital back in 2017, 2018. The guy's a class act. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He's saying something that many of us on a side of law and order completely agree with it. The problem is, if you truly embrace the concept of serving America as a congressman, as a police officer, as a sheriff, that pesky thing called the Constitution, due process, Fourth Amendment, First Amendment, Second Amendment, they apply everywhere. Now, I believe that the Constitution is the defining law of the land. I believe that every gun law in America is unconstitutional. I think that everybody should be able to carry whatever they want, whenever they want, regardless of how you feel. Black and white, period. I also believe in that real shitty thing called due process. When you go online, and this was where YouTube and social media created an environment for the mob to sit there and step up and put the pressure on the new 3-month-on cop that shows up at your home because your mailbox got egged overnight. You are now putting the pressure on them to go out and pump 5 rounds of their 9mm into the offender because that's what you want. And these brass badge wearing podium whores, these John Wayne types, have fucking done this for our society. And they're not understanding what their words are. I put up a video the other day talking about Sheriff Mark Lamb. You get to drive fast, carry a gun, rough people up, sign me up. Those are his words. And the American public fucking loves it. You've got Fridays with Frank, who works for Sheriff Mark Lamb. I've said it publicly. I don't agree with how Frank talks to people. And, well, he doesn't have to. You can talk to him when he wants to. He's a fucking public servant. As far as I'm concerned, he needs to be a professional. He's a condescending cop who truly is going to pass on that methodology to people who can't back it up. The danger, I'll give you the daring dangers of Frank. Frank talks to people like they're pieces of shit. One day, some cop who's seen Frank's stuff on YouTube and says this is the greatest stuff on the planet, they're going to go online, or they're going to go out in their traffic stop. Oh, do you have your driver's license? Oh, you don't? Well, unless it's stapled to your forehead, I don't know where it's going to be. It's going to magically appear out of your butt. And some guy is going to go, who the fuck are you talking to? And they don't have the confidence Frank's does. That driver is going to wind up getting in the cop's face. Cop is going to escalate it, and there's going to be a death on scene because that cop thought that they could emulate just a foul-mouthed, shit-talking cop like fucking Frank who says what he wants, and a sheriff backs it up. You're supposed to be professionals. You're supposed to be able to take this. When you're like Congressman Clay Higgins, and 10 years ago, 11 years ago, you talk about animals and thugs and all of this, you put the court of public opinion against these same men and women who are afforded due process. Now, here's the deal. Listen to me very carefully the way I'm trying to go. Am I defending the criminals? Fuck yeah, I am, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Here's one of the biggest shining examples where we are now is Sheriff Grady Judd. And I'm going to play some of Sheriff Grady Judd's content, right? This is, we have to talk about the press conferences.
From us. She's always been running from us. She failed to appear. What do? Say, hey, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We don't serve warrants at 3 o'clock in the morning. Notice if you got a warrant outstanding, we're going to arrest you at 2, 3, 4, 5, anytime we can find you. We found this person, and we were going to arrest her. So
now, Sheriff Grady Judd, and I play this just for a second. In these press conferences, there's some reporters who ask him some stuff like, hey, why'd you serve that warrant at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, that's anybody who asks that is a moron. Well, there's an easier way to answer that question, right? It's, hey, this is when it's the most tactically sound. This is where people are at their least guards. We can gain entry. We can take somebody to custody with the least mitigated risk possible. We do it because it's easier to manage the scene. We do it because there's less chaos. We take them by surprise. You say that. When you start vilifying the person that you take into custody at a press conference, how are they ever supposed to get a fair trial? We've seen the sheriffs who would go onto YouTube and they model the Clay Higgins, the Grady Judd, and they'll arrest people. And then the next thing you know is you've got the cops who arrested them, but the brass has to show up on scene in their gold-polished uniform, white shirt, bad shit. This is so-and-so. He ran from us, thought it would be a good idea. And you got the person sitting in the handcuffs behind them. How are they ever supposed to get a fair fucking trial? Now, I get it. You as the American citizen want these shitbags held accountable. You're asking your cops to play judge, jury, and executioner, all from the men who have a position of safety behind their fucking desk, who they haven't put handcuffs on people in a decade. They were elected by the people. They were appointed by the mayor. They are just paper pushers and fucking policy figureheads who go in front of a fucking camera and spout off the things you want to hear in order for them to keep their job or get reelected. Now, I've talked, this was one of my favorite first baptisms into Sheriff Grady Judd. Now understand, I've never met the man. The only exchange I've ever had was him. I issued an apology and a retraction for a statement I'm going to play in a little bit. In his office, emailed me saying, hey, Sheriff never said that. I believe in holding people accountable for their words, as I 100% believe that people should hold me accountable for mine. This was the first clip I ever saw of Grady Judd, and I went, come the fuck on, dude.
But it comes back to this common denominator. Every person I've ever asked that has a drug addiction problem, I would ask them intentionally, what was your drug of choice, your first drug of choice that set you on this path? Marijuana. Every time, marijuana. So we're legalizing across this country, in the different states, the drug that starts this addiction process.
Yeah, then I wanted to ask this, is okay, if you're going to interview everybody and say, hey, marijuana was the drug that started, so clearly you turned into a child raping molester, firebombing arsonist, whatever. Marijuana? Did you ever ask those same people, have you ever had a beer before? By your logic, I would venture to say that anybody who's ever had a drop of alcohol can become a drug addict. So when I first heard this, I went, it wasn't what he was saying, because everybody could form their opinion. I've never done pot, never smoked weed, never had a gummy, never had anything. And I've arrested several people on cannabis, weed. I think I've had 10 DUI arrests that were all cannabis, only cannabis arrested. Never seen anybody do anything very, very harmful on weed, as most of you know. It's the alcoholics. Yeah, you know how many bad alcoholic cops I've seen who actually carry their pistols on them in bars? I know a guy who was drunk off his ass, and he was a cop, and he got into a fight with somebody out in the parking lot. Next thing you know, he's got his pistol off duty in somebody's mouth on the fucking parking lot. I've seen, so can we say that alcohol will drive cops over the fucking edge? So where I'm going with this is we have an accountability factor that these men at podiums or these press conferences have to start reeling in, because what you are doing is you are picking a biased side, and it's not law and order. It's not law and order. As a sheriff, you're supposed to get up there and say, these are things I hate. I hate X, Y, and Z. I hate criminals. I hate all this shit. But I am bound by the oath I swore and the Constitution to wind up defending all the innocent and the victims until they're proven guilty by a court of law, not the court of public opinion. Because here's where it goes. And this is the problem. You have an interview like this, and I've played this before. I've talked about this before. This is where things get so dangerous and out of hand, and how the snowball is going to keep going downhill, and it's going to affect the public.
Where does your conviction come from to speak like that? You got, I believe, what was the award that you got? What was it? The 2022 Faith-Based Patriot of the Award? I mean, maybe I'm not getting it right. It was something like that was given to you, right? So there is an element of faith, but then there's the element of you crossed the line. I mean, you even had a story early on, right? When they took out one of your deputies, and the K9, if I'm not mistaken, this could have been in 06. Williams was the gentleman's last name. And then the criminal came and shot him from the back, if I'm not mistaken, shot him 6 or 8 times. And you guys shot this guy 68 times. And when the media asked you, why shoot him 68 times? Your answer was, we ran out of bullets. We would have shot him more. Where does that come from?
Well, it comes from the heart, and it comes from the soul, and it comes from what the overwhelming majority of the people are thinking. This guy shot and killed our K9, shot and killed our K9 handler, shot the backup deputy, then took the dead K9 handler's firearm, ran into the woods. City police came to back us up, shot at 2 of them and happened to miss them. Well, the next day, we had the area surrounded. The next morning when we had daylight, we had a SWAT team walk shoulder to shoulder through this wooded area in order to find him. Mm-hmm. Well, he pointed the dead deputy's gun at a SWAT team. What do you think's going to happen? Mm-hmm. You're going to get shot a lot. You're going to get shot so much you can read the Sunday New York Times through you. And that's what happened.
68 times.
See, the problem I have with this is he says in the beginning, it comes from the heart. It comes from a majority of what the people think. What about due process? And this is where you have to separate yourself from being a savage, wild animal who cannot control their impulses and actually sits there, puts the brakes on and says, crap, I have a job to fucking do, because it's going to trickle downhill, Sheriff. And this is the problem I have. Everything you said, I can feel it. I can fucking feel it, dude. I've been on those calls where you want so badly to bounce somebody's head off the fucking squad car because their wife, her nose is he balled up, fisted, blasted his blonde fucking wife, little petite broad, in the face, and her nose has exploded all over her face. And she's got blood in her hair from the explosion of shit. And her son has the same name as you do. So you're talking to him, you're trying to just, calm him down. And he's 6 years old, has no idea how to fucking feel. And you want to kill this man. You want to. That's the human side of what we did in law enforcement. And cops see that every single day. But the oath, which is the most difficult part of being a cop that they swore to, prevents them from taking justice into their own hands. What you should say when Patrick Bet-David says you shot 68 bullets into somebody, why did you say that it's because we ran out of bullets? That's the wrong answer. It's the wrong answer. You created vigilantism in America. You're creating a mob mentality in America. What you need to say is we use the force necessary to effect an arrest. We use the force necessary to terminate life-threatening behavior. I took no pleasure in our sheriff's deputies, in our state police, in our city police, taking a life. We are here to do a job. We are here to wind up keeping the public safe and upholding the Constitution. And my heart breaks that somebody made that choice, that we had to use the force that ultimately took their life. I don't give a fuck what you say in the squad room. I don't give a fuck if you go behind your desk, spit in your hand, and start fucking masturbating to his dead fucking crime scene photos. I don't give a shit. You owe the public the right response and mentality to prevent the bloodthirsty fucking mob from getting out of control. Because the more rhetoric that you have starts to spin out of control the dummies out there. This is from American Woman on Twitter back from June of this year. And this was a quote that I did content on that I was later corrected on by the sheriff's office saying Sheriff Grady Judd never said this. Polk County, Florida Sheriff, this is the quote that she's quoting. That is not true. This is not something Sheriff Grady Judd said. You kill a policeman, it means no arrest, no Miranda rights, no negotiation, nothing but as many bullets as we could shoot into you, period. Polk County, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd, a man in Polk County, Florida, got to go to routine, okay, whatever. Here's the comments. Here's the comment section we have. Saw this yesterday, couldn't contain my glee at the outcome. More wastes of human flesh need to be eliminated this way. Why only 68 times? Seem like some of them need better training. Why 68 times? Seems some of them need better training. Why only 68 times? Some of them need better training. I love this. We lost a deputy in June. His wife was 6 weeks pregnant. As it should be. Works for me. Love it. I love it. I found the amount of people who support this statement continues to fuel the ego of a man who can go up on a podium and scream for blood for harumps. The problem that I have is your sheriffs, I keep hearing this, they don't have body cameras, right? Now, I'm a guy, and I operate very well on negative reinforcement, meaning that if I went to a gym to lose weight and, you know, some of the members were there like, oh, you can do it. Yeah, you want to drop 20 pounds? You could do it. That's awesome. I'd be like, okay. But if I had people going in there, you fat fuck, you're a fucking pussy. You'll never do it. Fucking, you're 50 years old. Hang it up, fatty. That would fuel me like crazy. I grew up in a different time, and my upbringing was different. I loved the coaches I had who fueled me by pressing my buttons. You can't do that shit, dude. You're not going to fucking make it. You're a failure. I loved proving people wrong. There's a lot of people out there like that. And we salivate off of father figure type male attention. And this is what Sheriff Grady Judd, all the other sheriffs, David Clark, Clay Higgins, Sheriff Mark Lamb, they do not understand. You're still hiring these 21-year-old boys who have no life experience on your streets. So if you have no body cameras to hold accountability, and you are at a podium saying, we shot somebody 68 times because we ran out of bullets, what message are you sending to your subordinate all the way down on patrol that you've never met, because how many deputies do you have underneath you, and you expect your commanders, lieutenants, and sergeants to keep everyone on line, and that cop, that deputy goes to a call and takes the same mentality because they're chomping at the bit. They want to make you proud. Sheriff Grady Judd likes when we kill people. And we know how cops escalate things. Ultimately speaking, you have a public they've got the same salivating, raging hard-ons as you do to punish criminals. Your cops now they think this is the behavior you expect from them. They're going to turn a barking dog call into somebody's death sentence because they can. And the public doesn't realize this. The public doesn't get that one of Sheriff Grady Judd's officers, if they haven't done this already, will pull you over in Polk County because you didn't update your license plate sticker, or if it's an equipment offense in Florida and you have your license plate light bulb out because you don't ever check to see, oh, my license plate, and they pull you over. It could escalate all the way into you getting dragged out of the car and getting your face just burned up in the concrete and the pavement as they drag you to the back, put the cuffs on you, pound you, because you said what? You question them. They are the end-all, be-all of the law on the street because they have a sheriff who goes before the fucking press and barks as many fucking rhetoric staple sayings as they can to get people all riled up while he's never been on the fucking road, or he hasn't in the last God knows how many years. I don't know his background. I'm not going to disrespect him that way. The sheriffs have a responsibility to keep their dogs under control. And what we see right now in America is this demand for cops be our public servants, be our fucking hammers, be our fucking little lapdogs who are responsible for the activism we say you do when you do. Don't you dare ever touch a black person again in the history of the world. And then you've got policy. Well, John Doe's been with us for 10 years. He's kind of challenged me at command staff meetings, and he always has a problem. He's always bringing up stuff to me in case law and this and that. He actually wants to do the right job. Oh, John Doe just fucked up. And there's no body camera there to vindicate him from actually doing the right thing. I'm going to find a department policy to string John Doe up, suspend him. He's going to go through the union. It'll take him 3 years to get his job back, blah, blah, blah. The camera podium horror era of police officers and command staff is one of the most dangerous in America because you're coddling now the cop who they're going to find something, man. They're driving around in a box all day long, and you just saw your sheriff, your chief online, and he's ranting and raving about, we shot him 68 times because we ran out of bullets. We're coming after you. You think a man like me is afraid of you? It's like, fucking A, dude. We all want that John Wayne cowboy shit to be able to sit there and put our hands on somebody, and it feels fucking good when we use force on people. But I keep saying it. You swore an oath to the Constitution, and the fucking amendments in there that limit your ability to be judged, jury, and executioner are crystal clear. So why do we keep doing this? Because we have the American mob who fucking loves punishment. They're too lazy to do the job themselves. They don't discipline their kids. They fucking don't back up their teachers who are in these classrooms that can't handle these little shitbag kids. They go out into society. They fuck shit up. They run across the police. And then now you want the cops to do your dirty work for not raising your kids properly. And it's a vicious cycle. It keeps going and going and going and going. I don't have a problem with what Captain Clay Higgins, Congressman Clay Higgins says. I don't have a problem with what Sheriff Mark Lamb says. I don't have a problem with what Sheriff Grady Judd said because I felt everything out of it. I have a fucking massive problem for where they said it and where they continue to say it because you're stoking a fire of an angry fucking mob people and you're asking your sheriffs to do the dirty work, your deputies, your street cops, to do the dirty work you never would. And then you're going to string them up. So ultimately speaking, if you support the blue, these men are not on the side of your street cops. They're not. They are not. They're going to sit there and prompt your cops to pump 68 bullets into somebody. And then when your cop needs the defense, because they did the job that you expected them to do. You're right. You want more Mike Browns out there being shot for attacking a cop. And all of a sudden that cop is going to do the right thing. And then the command staff, ooh, well, yeah, can't really support you. But you were up at a podium saying if that criminal thug ever got within 2 feet of you holding a sideways firearm, you're going to light him up. Take the badge off. Take the gun off. Go play vigilante in your town. See how fucking far you get without dispatching the backup. Simple as that. I hate these fucking men who go to podiums, shout off at the top of their lungs shit that they will never back up, that they are simply doing to incite violence at a fucking mob that wants them to do this, and then all the responsibility falls on the shoulders of those men in the street who are going to get strung up to dry or hung up to dry when they actually do their job. So to be honest, I'm defending the street cop, the sheriff's deputies, who is going to think that they're doing what daddy wants. Oh, look, we got him cornered. Let's everybody start firing. And then when it comes down to if it ever came down where Grady Judd was like sued within an inch of his life, he's going to find every one of you that had your finger on a trigger and you're going to be listening to that lawsuit, man. You're done. You're done. John Wayne days are over. If you want to start holding these criminals, these shitbag criminals who are afforded due process responsible, then start putting the pressure on your judges. You never see these sheriffs giving press conferences talking about the fucking shitty district and state's attorneys, the judges who let these animals out all the time, the increase in recidivism rate. We don't talk about the broken correctional system where these correctional officers are outnumbered 100-1. They are the backbone of law enforcement as far as I'm concerned. 90% of cops could never do what a correctional officer could. But a correctional officer could probably do what a cop could do 10 times better because they have the fucking greatest weapon in the world, their mouth and their mind. I get heated on this subject because I cannot stand watching the podium whores, the camera whores ruin law enforcement because ultimately what they're doing is they're feeding their own fucking ego for camera time, for news time, to appease their voters, to appease their bosses, and they're shitting on the patrol that's going to do their dirty work. And I can say this because I'm a fucking camera whore too. Hope that makes sense. See you guys in the next video.